Welcome to another Compassion Works for All video. I'm Anna, and I'm here with my friend Chelle, who works very hard on our Compassion Works for All board. And we were just looking at a book called Unlikely Friendships. And it was an adorable book that showed how surprising connections can come out of friendships. Oftentimes, those friendships deliver us a teacher, somebody who is so powerful in our lives that they grow us to new levels, and we would never be the same again after they come into our lives. Chelle has had an unlikely friendship that took her totally by surprise. And I think I had a little role to play in the beginning. Chelle, tell us about your unlikely friendship.
Well, Anna, you had a big role in that. I started out trying to get involved in working with prisoners, working with inmates, writing them as pen pals and such. But I wanted to do a little more. I wanted to connect a little to someone a little closer. So I asked Anna to find me a friend. And she thought on it and thought on it and thought on it. And I'm sure she meditated on it quite some. And she introduced me to Robert Robbins. He's down at the Varner unit in Grady, Arkansas. We began a friendship, writing back and forth, getting to know each other. From there, I went to visit him a time or two. Continued writing, continued growing, continued learning about each other, and just kind of grew from there. I asked Anna for a friend, and it became so much more. Like she said, a teacher. He taught me a lot about myself, a lot about just people in general, all the while just as a friendship. It started out as a friendship, so.
One of the things we do in Compassion Works for All is answer the letters from people who are in prisons, really giving support to people in prisons and trying to help people prepare for the world, for those that are coming out, and really learning that they're valued and loved and cared about. That kind of valued and loved does not always mean leading to a close or a romantic relationship. Sometimes it's reparenting people in a way. Sometimes it's sharing healthy families with somebody in prison who never had that. There are all sorts of surprises. And I remember way back in the beginning when you and Robert started writing, you mentioned back then that you were surprised because you thought maybe by writing to someone in prison, you would be helping them. But then the tables got turned. Tell us more how you felt that.
Well, the tables did turn. I started out with this passion and this desire to help somebody, to be a friend, to put a smile on their face just by sending them a letter, a card, or something. That was my whole thing. Is I wanted to be the one making the difference. I wanted to be, the one reaching out and touching someone, making a friend, and just kind of letting someone know that they're valued. But it turned on me in the best way. I reached out to Robert, and he in turn reached to me, teaching me so much, like I said, about myself, but also being a teacher in in an educational way. Each letter he wrote was filled with all these big words that I had to I had to dig out the dictionary to find. And in turn, I was learning, about little things like that. He was a teacher to me in that regards, and to this day, he still does it. Every time I get a letter from him, I sit down with my dictionary because I know he's going to throw a word in there that that I'm going to have to look up. And I think that's good. I think that's a good thing. And I was surprised by that. Here was this guy that was, infinitely more intelligent than I was, teaching me things that I, I never knew. It went on from that. He encouraged me to go back to school, to work on my degree. So I'm in the process of doing that. He's been right there beside me, sending me tips in the mail about how to get through college algebra and, just things that I knew, but to hear it from him, it made more sense, because that was something that he knew more than I did. So he's worked with me on, on an educational standpoint, along with just teaching me about life and about how to be compassionate and how to learn from everybody you come in contact with, because you may be surprised as to what you learn. You open your mind and you open your heart. There's no telling.
And you told me that he is sending drawing lessons to your teenage daughter.
Yes.
And in a sense, you're creating a feeling of family all together.
Yes.
She is getting to learn about drawing. He's getting to feel like he's making a contribution to her life and doing something valuable. What do you have to say about that? That's a sweet story.
Well, it's a new thing we've started. He's sending letters to me for my daughter, art lessons. She's really big into art and drawing and learning about how's the best way to draw this and how and he's an artist himself and has just kind of agreed to take on her as a student, sending her art lessons in the mail, and she has them all in a binder, and she refers back to them and practices and sends them sends her samples to him, and he responds with feedback as far as work on this a little more or work on your shading on this a little more. And it's been a new interesting journey for all of us. As a family, it's connecting me and her, because we talk about him and his art, and it's connecting him and her because they work together on their art, and it's connecting me and him because he can be a part of my life with her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a really good thing for everybody involved.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It's fabulous. And of course, not every story is a success story, and some people are challenges, but absolutely everybody is a surprise.
Yes.
And one of the wonderful things at Compassion Works for All is that we find out that no matter what somebody's story is, there is in each person something dear that wants to give their gift and wants to be loved and wants to give love. We are always here by email, or you can respond to a video. If you decide you want to write to somebody, we'll be happy to give you support and guidelines. So just know that we're here. And if you decide to find a new and unusual friend that may turn into your teacher, just be sure and stay in touch with us, and we'll give you encouragement and support. Anything else you'd like to say, Chelle, before we stop?
I don't guess so.
Thank you very much for sharing with us. We're here on a beautiful place that just reminds us of the perfection of everything. Thank you.